Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If becoming a mangaka in One Piece world. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 431, Cyborg Kuma, and Memories from the Future. One Piece Events. The government's order was to completely destroy you all, but while saying that, Kuma began to create an airball in the shape of a cat's paw. The ball gradually shrank in size, catching the attention of the crew. They couldn't help but wonder what it was. What the heck is that? I can see a strangely shaped layer of air. It's getting smaller. As they observed the ball, Nami's voice revealed a sense of panic. He's applying pressure to a ball of air that he repelled with his paws. It's been compressed that much. If that much air returns to its normal state, it would create a gigantic shockwave. Like a bomb. Robin took the initiative to explain the dire consequences of what they were witnessing. Usopp couldn't believe what he was hearing. A bomb. He can make a bomb whenever he needs to? I will spare your lives. Meanwhile, Kuma continued to give his ultimatum. The forest pirates were initially relieved to hear this, but their joy was short-lived. In exchange, I'll be taking Straw Hat Luffy. As long as I take his head, the government won't complain. As Kuma urged them to bring Luffy to him, Usopp's face darkened. He was shocked at the idea of betraying their comrade. "You're telling us to betray our comrade," he exclaimed. However, Kuma was not swayed by their protests. He repeated his demand, "Now. Bring Straw Hat here." The crew, along with Lola and her group, exclaimed in unison, "Hell and oh." Unfortunately, their refusal only led to Kuma's next move. "That's a pity," he replied, Ursa's shock. With those words, a claw-shaped air bubble enveloped the entire battlefield, including them. It was clear that Kuma was not to be underestimated. Maragoa. As Imo sat on her empty throne, she wore a strange smile as she read through the manga volume. She thought to herself, "Let me guess. This big kid of that special race is just testing them, isn't it, Fufu?" Imo was already familiar with the background of Bartholomew Kuma, having played a part in his difficult ordeal years ago. She couldn't help but think it was his fault for being born into that special race, which could easily catch her attention, not even the greedy celestial dragons. She mused, "I suppose he's a double agent. The only organization he can serve with his deep hatred for the world government is the Revolutionary Army. Since the head of the Revolutionary Army is Luffy's father, doesn't that mean he's testing the loyalty of Luffy's comrades? Haha, interesting." With just a few words, Imo was able to sum up the general situation even before the manga touched on it. She found it all quite interesting. Meanwhile, the five elders were not as perceptive as their lord. They had not yet made the connection between Bartholomew Kuma from the manga and the special race fugitive from years before. They were impressed by his unwavering loyalty to the world government, saying, "This is really great, we can't lose his loyalty in this reality either." However, Saturn was not entirely convinced. He pointed out that Bartholomew Kuma's kingdom was under the protection of the Hunters Guild, and even the Sky Sword had come out to solve the cordon that was imposed on the Sorbet kingdom at that time. The blonde Gorosei frowned upon hearing his comrade's lukewarm comments and questioned, "This can't be real. A few days ago, we received a report that the Revolutionary Army is stationed in the kingdom of Sorbet. Could it be?" The bald Gorosei, while polishing his sword, cautioned the blonde Gorosei against jumping to conclusions, saying, "Don't go straight to conclusions. Your assumption may be wrong. Let's see how he will handle it in the manga first." He then expressed his own thoughts, saying, "Although I'm betting that Luffy and his comrades will somehow survive this, maybe what you expected will be true, buddy." Sorbet Kingdom. "Dad, why are you being so tough on Luffy and his friends?" "What?" asked Bunny, her voice trembling while crying. Kuma was left speechless when he saw Bunny crying. Obviously, my future version in the manga only tested their abilities. If I had truly intended to kill or capture them, it would have taken less than a second, said Kuma, without any hint of arrogance. Dragon and Ivankov both nodded in agreement. You make a valid point. Perhaps you are testing their courage and loyalty, aren't you? Dragon had already noticed this during the battle of Kuma and Zoro. The question now is, in what capacity are you testing them? As a Shichibukai or as a revolutionary? Dragon wondered out loud, while Kuma remained silent in meditation. What is this after the end of the chapter? Cried Crocodile, having noticed a poster featuring himself and Mr. 1 and Mr. 3 behind bars in prison after the chapter had ended. Oh my god! What is this? Little Bonnie exclaimed in disbelief. Why? Why do you have a metal body, Dad? This can't be you, can it? Bunny's heart almost stopped when she saw the wound that Zoro had inflicted on Kuma's shoulder, revealing his metallic frame. Ah! Your body is flesh and blood. Little Bonnie breathed a sigh of relief when she touched her father's body to make sure it was made of flesh and blood, like hers. I am indeed a cyborg, but I am far beyond Frankie's type. Kuma exclaimed after narrowly Zoro avoiding his attack with a laser beam fired from his mouth. He then proceeded to explain what he was to the confused swordsman. I am what they call a pacifista, Kuma said. An incomplete human weapon created by the world government. Zoro was taken aback by this revelation. Pacifista, he wondered. Kuma replied, the project founder is Dr. Vegapunk, the genius scientist from the world government. He is the man who possesses the greatest brain in the world. His knowledge of science is what others could only discover 500 years from now. Zoro took a moment to contemplate the situation, breathing roughly. With this kind of body and such devil fruit ability, it seems that our hope has already vanished, he said. Even my body is no longer in my control. Why must you take Luffy's head? He asked. This is already my best offer, Kuma replied. At that moment, Zoro made the ultimate sacrifice to save his captain. I see. Go on and take the head. However, let mine substitute his. Let my life exchange for his. I beg of you. WTF. Dragon, Kuma, Ivankov, and Crocodile are all standing together in silence. After a moment, Ivankov breaks the silence, exclaiming, is this real? Crocodile responds with admiration, saying, what a loyal deputy. I was really touched. Meanwhile, Bonnie, who is reading the manga silently, is completely shocked by the content. With wide eyes, she looks up and asks, why did big-headed uncle do such a thing to you in the manga? Why did he turn you into a human weapon, Dad? Dragon notices Bonnie's distress and looks over at her. Kuma, Bonnie's father, also notices that something is wrong and places his hand on her forehead. He is surprised to feel that she is overheating and immediately uses his ability to extract the excess heat from her body. As he does so, a red bubble resembling a cat's paw appears behind Bonnie's head. In the meantime, Bonnie's mind is being attacked by a strange memory from the distant future. She sees herself as a mature woman trying to kill a strange old man with an apple branch covering his split head. She succeeds in turning him into a child, who then tries to prevent her from breaking into a room with a familiar bubble inside. Before Bonnie's memory can progress any further, her father extracts her pain and asks her if she is okay. Are you okay, Bonnie? Chapter 432, Nothing Happened Realization of a Man. Part 1. Ohara. Ever since Bartholomew Kuma, the other Shichibukai, made an appearance, discussions inside the art store have been escalating to record levels. However, since the disclosure of the fact that the famous scientist Dr. Vegapunk is responsible for turning Kuma into a cyborg, or the so-called pacifista, confusion appeared in the eyes of most readers. At first Frankie. And now Bartholomew Kuma. How can a person live after turning into a machine? Can it be described as a living being in the first place? Strange, why would someone as powerful as Kuma allow the world government to turn him into a cold weapon in their hands? Does Dr. Vegapunk have a hand in this? Many questions have been raised about this topic, particularly regarding Dr. Vegapunk, who appeared as part of the background for the manga debut. Readers are puzzled about how a person can live after turning into a machine and whether they can still be described as living beings. They are also curious as to why someone as powerful as Kuma would allow the world government to turn him into a cold weapon in their hands, and whether Dr. Vegapunk played a role in this. As Kuma explains the background of his transformation into a cyborg in his hand, Vegapunk exclaims, "Is this me? No, definitely this is me. This is my body. Even though my face didn't show, that doesn't mean I can't recognize my body." Vegapunk realizes, "Don't tell me that things would have taken this path which is fraught with sacrifices if it weren't for the existence of the manga." Kuma. For a moment, his eyes become wet. Seeing that, Clover and Brookside. You shouldn't take everything that appeared in the manga seriously. I see that Bartholomew Kuma is still alive like humans. Clover advises Vegapunk. It's just a matter of time, he's doomed to die in 2 years at the most, however, Vegapunk clarifies. After all, the person most familiar with the Kuma situation in the manga is himself. The title "The World 500 Years Ahead of Its Time" is not just an empty title, it is actually real. This means that I am responsible for killing him, even if it was of his own free will. Vegapunk sighs sadly before returning to read the manga. I don't think that, Vegapunk-san. Brook mutters silently, not quite understanding the situation yet, but feeling Vegapunk's sadness. Zoro wants to sacrifice himself for the sake of his captain and crew. What a wonderful man he is. Soon, he adjusts his mood and returns to reading the manga as well. One Piece events. I know my head is not worth much at the moment. But eventually, I will become the world's #1 swordsman. I'd say exchanging my life for his is an equally good deal. In his life so far, Zoro has not reached a dead end, but today he has already arrived. Everything depends on the decision of the invincible enemy in front of him. If you have such a great ambition, then by dying for him, how will you ever be satisfied? The question that Kuma asked at this moment was logical. But the answer given by Zoro is more logical. Aside from that, there is already no other way to save the crew. If I can't even protect my captain's dream, then whatever ambition I have is nothing but just talk. Luffy must be the man who becomes the Pirate King. Suddenly Sanji, who had not fainted due to the previous explosion, intervened. Hold on a minute, you jerk. What are you going to do if you die? What happened to your dream? Idiot. Sanji continue, Oi. You big blob. Just ignore this Marimo swordsman. If you must kill somebody, then just take my life. I know the Marines don't give a damn about me. But soon enough the man who will be most feared by the Marines will be me. Black Leg Sanji. Come at once. Kill me. I've already realized that this day will come. Let the flower of death bloom in me. Without turning back, Sanji talked with Zoro. Oi. Tell everyone to take care, and that you'll have to find yourselves another chef. But he was surprised by a painful feeling in his left waist where Zoro hit him violently to temporarily drive him away. Bastard, Sanji falls to the ground. I hope you will keep your promise after I die, Zoro said to Kuma. In the tavern of the art store, Sara placed her hand over her mouth as she witnessed the current events, which appeared to be leading toward a tragic end for the crew. Even you, Sanji. She whispered, her heart heavy with emotion. Observing Sanji's willingness to sacrifice his life to save his crewmates only added to the complexity of her feelings. For some reason, she felt an immense sense of pride in Sanji's actions. As she heard comments from other readers praising Sanji's magnanimity and heroism, as well as Zoro's, she couldn't help but feel overjoyed. However, her happiness was short-lived as sadness soon enveloped her. The more she read the manga, the more she felt like this fictional character was her own child. Suddenly, an inexplicable feeling of fullness bloomed in her stomach, as if the consciousness of the world was trying to highlight a mysterious fact. What is this feeling of fullness in my stomach? It can't be, she thought to herself. After all, she had left her husband's bed only half an hour earlier, a man who had stolen the threads of fate from Vin Smokejudge.
Ueno Country. Ringo Prefecture, home of daimyo. He looks a lot like me.
While drinking sake, Shimatsuki Ishimaru said with a satisfied smile. Next to him, a white wolf spoke reverently and asked, "Excuse me for being rude, but could it be that Zorodano is
your future son, Daimyo-sama?" Shimatsuki Ishimaru chuckled and replied, "Huh? You're funny, Anamaru."
Ever since this little wolf accidentally ate a devil fruit, it seemed that he gained the ability to speak and his intelligence increased to be similar to that of humans. He also acquired the ability to transform into a big monk yokai, just like what happened with Chopper. Maybe it could be her son, who knows.
Zoro really looks like him in almost everything.
When I first saw him, I thought he was my brother. Besides, the attitude of the ancestor's corpse towards him made me feel for sure that he is connected to us by blood.
You mean, Hiriko-sama, exclaimed Anamaru. Shimatsuki Ishimaru suggested, Rora no Azaro should be Shimatsuki Zoro. Shimatsuki Town. In a small house nestled between two rivers, far from the hustle and bustle of the town, a poignant scene unfolded.
The room was dimly lit by the flickering flames of a candle, and the only sounds that could be heard were the soft murmurs of the family members present. Inside, a tall woman who resembled Toki, with dark blue hair and a green flower tucked behind her ear, gazed at a young man with tearful eyes. Despite being in her peak 30s, the woman looked youthful and beautiful, though her health condition seemed to have taken a toll on her, making her face appear pale. As tears streamed down her face, she uttered, "Zoro-kun." Her voice trembled with emotion as she watched her grandson's sacrifice, the most brilliant and heart-wrenching thing she had ever seen. The woman's gaze shifted to the young man sitting before her, who was reading manga with tears in his eyes. In addition to his uncle, he looks like his grandfather. Pin-san is also very much. His grandfather was once just like him, an unquenchable sword spirit, a real man's pride, predatory eyes, and unfailing loyalty. All these qualities made me adore your father. The woman spoke once again, her voice filled with memories of her husband, Pin-san. The beautiful woman looked at her son, who appeared to be 18 years old, with black hair and 3 earrings similar to those of Zoro, or maybe they were the same ones. The young man was reading manga with tears in his eyes, repeating, "This is my son. He is really my son." His eyes were red, and his nose was running, wetting his clothes. Nevertheless, his mother and wife felt a great love for this young man. "I will do it, I will become stronger for him. Don't worry, Mom, and you too, Tara. I will save the family from the fate of destruction, and I will save the poor child from the fate of living without a family." Seeing the scene of Zoro bowing his head instead of his captain only strengthened his determination to become worthy of being his father. "My son will undoubtedly become the greatest swordsman in the world." BFT. On the other side, a young woman with green hair and eyes resembling Zoro's laughed. Her eyes were also red from crying earlier, but her husband's words made her very happy. "Tara, Arashur, make sure to teach Zoro well in the future. I don't want him to become reckless like that damn Ishimaru." Chapter 433, Nothing Happened, Realization of a Man. Part 2. One Piece Events. "If I lay my hand on Straw Hat now, my honor would be at stake," Kuma stated. After seeing how determined Zoro is to sacrifice himself, Kuma decided to fulfill his wish. Zoro expressed his gratitude, saying, "I would be eternally grateful." Kuma picked up the unconscious Luffy and spoke reassuringly to Zoro. "Rest assured, I will leave him unharmed. However, you are about to experience hell." Kuma's hand, resembling a cat's paw, touched Luffy's belly. Luffy's body began to secrete a hideous red bubble, which expanded into a massive bubble that also resembled a cat's paw. This was one of the abilities of Kuma's devil fruit, Nikyu Nikyu no Mi, as he had previously announced. "What I am repelling from his body now is pain and fatigue. All the damage inflicted on him in his battle against Moria is accumulated here. If you wish to die in his place, then you must receive his suffering. Since you don't have much life left in you, taking this pain will only lead to your death." Kuma removed a small ball from the larger pain ball and threw it toward Zoro, saying, "Have a try." As soon as it entered his body, Zoro let out a piercing scream.
UWAGEFU. Guwa a. Kuma asked him for his opinion on the experiment. Well. Zoro quickly stood up and said, "Just let me decide on the location." He rushed towards the large paintball and hugged it without a second thought, taking on his captain's suffering. Shimotsuki Town. What an unshakable iron will. What a strong, fearless spirit. What steely loyalty carries in his heart. This kid. Really. I see in him the shadow of the ancestor. That's why you gave him your dear sword, Ryuma? Have you seen his true spirit with your dead eyes? Old man Kozaburo's being was shaken as he read the content of the legendary chapter. He had been reading this manga for 3 years now, discovering many legendary scenes that he felt he was experiencing firsthand. However, he now realized that the scene he had just read was the undisputed number one, and no other scene could ever surpass it. Because what this scene embodies is not just self-sacrifice, but also the will of a true swordsman, the will that belongs to the king of the swordsmen. This boy definitely has it, the conqueror Haki, Kozaburo announced quietly. How did you conclude this, father? Kushiru wondered. Even if he doesn't have it now, it's only because he hasn't awakened it yet. Don't tell me why an ordinary swordsman can't have Zoro's spirit. I see that he will be the greatest swordsman in this world in the future. He is the pride of our clan. I've decided. I'm going to make him marry my granddaughter Kuina. Go and call that moron who calls himself Roranoa over here. Tell him he has to hurry up and have his son, too. Father, didn't you want to go look for Moria? Why did you stop? Please go then. Stop being rude. Someone like Moria doesn't deserve me to take a step. Go and do what I told you to do. Kozaburo took out his pipe, ready to teach his disobedient son a lesson. The Roranoa he was talking about, he must be the father of that person nicknamed Marimo. Right? Thriller Bark Island. What on earth is this? Exclaimed Moria. While seeing the events of the manga going south toward the survival of Luffy and his companions, he frowned, then grew angry, and finally felt despair. Why haven't you killed them yet, Bartholomew Kuma? He demanded. What are you trying to do? Won't you kill them? Why did you accept Zoro's offer? He continued. Killing Zoro alone is not enough, kill Mujiwara, he added. As Moria continued to read, his desperation only grew. Eventually, Kuma left, revealing a terrible truth about his relationship with the Revolutionary Army. Your son is truly amazing to have found such loyal companions, Dragon, announced Kuma with interest as he stood at the gate of the Thriller Bark ship, indicating that he had completed what he came for there. Returning to the battle arena, Lola shouted to wake everyone up, "Hey, is everyone still alive?" There was a loud scream in response to her question. He must have assumed we were dead after that explosion and left. That Kuma guy. Ha! We showed him, exclaimed one of the group. Frankie looked at Luffy, who was actively jumping around just after waking up. Are you kidding me? How are you feeling? He asked. Luffy replied energetically, look at me. My body feels really relaxed. What's going on? Chopper was shocked and shouted, "EEH? What?" Usopp yelled, "Liar. How is this possible?" Robin giggled and said, maybe he's so badly hurt that he's not making sense anymore. Sanji, who was not paying attention to what was happening behind him, started to look for Zoro. How can he be okay? Where did that guy go? Could it be? Over there! Sanji shouted. Sanji was horrified by the bloody scene he saw and thought that Zoro was already dead. Hey, are you still alive? Where did that guy go? What the hell happened here? Finally, Zoro responded with words that would remain ingrained in the minds of readers forever, nothing. Nothing at all. Did he really just say nothing happened? This is impossible. Moria's eyes widened in shock to the point where they almost popped out of their sockets. He couldn't believe that someone could stand up and talk as if nothing had happened in such a situation. Is he even human? Moriya's voice trembled as he spoke.
At that moment, the fear of Luffy that the manga had left ingrained in his heart receded, to be replaced by a new fear of Zoro.
In Moriya's view, Zoro was more dangerous than Luffy.
He believed that Zoro was the undisputed hero of this arc.
Ohara.
The place was shrouded in absolute silence, and the sound of the reader's absent-minded breathing was audible.
No one had seen it coming.
Nobody could have predicted that the situation would suddenly turn into a legendary scene. Zoro, who had stolen the spotlight from Luffy, who had defeated Moriya, left a deep impression on the readers' hearts with his words, "Nothing happened," and his blood dripping from his body. They were still in a stupor and couldn't shake themselves out of it. Brook expressed his admiration for Zoro, saying, "What a man, Zoro-san." He couldn't find better words than these to describe what Zoro did in the manga. Clover sighed lightly and added, "He embodied the meaning of self-sacrifice and ambition. He truly is a real man." Vegapunk, as a scientist, commented, "Since he is still alive after those fatal injuries, he will gain great benefits from his training."
Doflamingo calmly analyzed the situation, connecting the dots and rationally analyzing the events of the manga. So Kuma announced that he knows about Dragon.
The world government is not foolish, they can deduce that Kuma is a double agent in the manga.
I'm guessing the world government will classify Kuma as a revolutionary after this chapter and put a bounty on his head. Fufu, this is getting more interesting. I wonder what Bartholomew Kuma's background is. Chapter 434, Ace and Impel Down. Wano Country.
Returning to Ringo Province, where the snow had melted and flowers bloomed everywhere.
Shimatsuki Ashimaru and his pet Anamaru were in a daze.
Not only them but all the guards of the daimyo and his family who have had the opportunity to read the latest volume were also amazed. The daimyo had requested many copied volumes, which were sent by delivery arrows from the flower capital. Thanks to the delivery arrows, they didn't need to travel to the flower capital, where the nearest art store is, to read the manga. The reason for their stupor was what Zoro had accomplished.
In other words, Zoro's sacrifice and his amazing words, "Nothing happened," left a deep impression on them.
Shusui found a qualified swordsman to carry it. The ancestor did not make a mistake when he passed the national treasure Shusui to Zoro, Ashimaru said with an admiring smile. At this moment, he felt inferior to Zoro for some reason. This feeling was not limited to him alone, but to many other swordsmen who aspired to become the strongest.
Compared to Zoro's will, they found themselves lacking.
"I look forward to seeing your future achievements, the pride of my clan," Ashimaru said with a heartfelt smile. At this point, he became sure that Zoro was his nephew who had escaped from Wano a few years ago. Author's note: I have already decided to link Zoro's origins to the Shimatsuki family from Wano, even if Oda has not yet recognized it. I don't care if I get slapped by Oda. Flower Capital. The residents of the Flower Capital, including both samurai and ordinary people, still were similarly stunned and speechless by the scene of Zoro. His actions were too grandiose to comprehend. Zoro became an inspiration for the samurai of Wano, a shining example to follow in their pursuit of the path of the sword. Because not everyone with a sword is necessarily a swordsman, Isho said, sighing with an overwhelming admiration for Zoro's scene. He was grateful to the art store, which had temporarily restored his eyesight and allowed him to witness such greatness. I am increasingly convinced that Zoro will be my most terrifying rival for the title of the strongest swordsman in the manga world, commented Mihawk calmly, his hawk eyes occasionally glowing with a longing for a challenge.
Hawk-san. One day, you will realize that your biggest mistake in life was challenging him with an apple-peeling knife in your first fight. Mihawk's eyes darkened when he heard the Shogun's malicious comment. Shogun-san, Mihawk interrupted. The person who challenged Zoro with a short knife is my version in the manga, and besides, Zoro doesn't exist in this world yet. Don't forget that. Ring Hell Island, or what is known as Hunter's Island, was Rob's destination. He gracefully descended on the highest point of the Hunter's Tower, with feather-like leaves scattering from his paper wings. As the official Hunters Guild building, headed by Rob in the New World, the tower was the perfect place to descend with little Yamato, who arrived on Hunter's Island with Rob's clone, using paper wings for a short flight. Welcome to the Hunters Guild, little Yamato.
Rob greeted her as he held her in his arms. The guards who met him showed him respect and admiration that could not be faked on their faces.
Now, we're going to leave the New World and go to the West Blue. You know Ohara, right? Rob asked Yamato with a friendly smile.
Of course. Ohara is the home of Nico Robin, which the Navy destroyed with a buster call. Yamato's tone dropped as she remembered the tragic event. Rob felt a great desire to console her, as her cuteness was beyond words.
Ha ha ha. Maybe you didn't realize the fact that the events in the manga are separate from the events in reality. Well, you didn't realize yet that I'm Nico Robin's father, right? Yeah?
Yamato was completely shocked. Guild Master, the criminal surgeon Hogback has been transferred to the central prison, awaiting trial. A lot of incriminating evidence has been collected, and he will be punished for the crimes he committed in the past. His status as a genius surgeon will not excuse him from the consequences of his actions, a senior law enforcement officer dressed as a Ranka hunter informed Rob.
Well. Rob nodded with satisfaction. It looked like the Hogback file was locked.
After making sure everything was fine, Rob patted Yamato's head and prepared to enter the art store to send Yamato to Ohara, where the main body and his family were located. But before that, his personal phone rang.
It wasn't a Den Mushi, it was a real mobile phone.
The only people who could call him on this number were those who knew him well. As I expected, it seems that this day has finally arrived, Rob said, knowing who was calling him, Port Gastille Rouge. Thriller Bark Island. With a heavy heart, Moria flips through the last pages of the volume. He feels as though the whole world has abandoned him at this moment, and only those who have suffered a crushing defeat at the hands of Luffy in his plot armor can truly understand his current state of mind. Crocodile serves as a prime example of this. Well, at least I didn't die in the manga, otherwise, it would have been too shameful, he muses. However, seeing Hogback and Absalom's success in smuggling him away from Thriller Bark brings him a slight sense of comfort. And so, Luffy's brother was imprisoned and impelled down, he exclaims, what wonderful news to hear.
Kishishishishi. One Piece events.
Great, quick,
shut the gate, exclaimed Hogback. Finally, we've escaped from Thriller Bark. He cheered. However, the excitement was short-lived as he questioned, what about Perona? After celebrating their successful escape, Dr. Hogback expressed concern about Perona's whereabouts. We can't do anything if we can't find her. Alright, I'm going to release my invisibility, Absalom stated. Absalom responded half-heartedly, still reeling from the shock of encountering Kuma. My goodness, I can't believe I broke out in a cold sweat. Why did the tyrant Kuma appear on Thriller Bark, he wondered aloud. Hogback then proceeded to share what he knew about Kuma's appearance.
When the zombies were being eliminated, Goro, Nin, and FAO, who reported to Moria-sama, overheard that someone would replace Shichibukai Crocodile, he explained. But that's not the most important part, Hogback continued. The successor is someone named Blackbeard, and this fellow has done some pretty unbelievable feats. Take a look at the news, he exclaimed, passing a newspaper to Absalom. Absalom's eyes widened as he read the headline, Captain of Whitebeard Pirates Division No. 2. Firefist Ace is imprisoned in Impel Down. Ace was such a famous elite who served Whitebeard. The world government must have found themselves a trump card, remarked Hogback. Indeed, Absalom agreed. It seems that this situation may be the one that will turn over the pirate era, Hogback concluded. On an unknown island in the first half of the Grand Line. After seeing the content of the latest chapter, it was as if a bomb had exploded in the minds of Roger and his crew. Unbelievable, said young Shanks. Incredible, added Gaban. They have already dared to imprison Ace and Impel Down. They don't fear Whitebeard? Wondered Crocus. It's lucky for them that we can't enter the manga world, Buggy exclaimed in an attempt to lighten the mood. However, it became clear that this was not enough as everyone noticed the sadness in the captain's wife. Ace, Rouge weakly bit her lips, being the only one who knew where this was all headed due to having read some of Rob's thoughts from years ago. Rouge. Let's call Rob. He can reassure us, Roger said in a gentle voice, trying to comfort her.
Chapter 435, Bink Sake is sweeping the pirate world. Part 1.
Amidst the euphoria of reading the last chapters following Moria's defeat, the sound of a piano playing emanated from the art store, catching everyone's attention.
Musical notes, musical notes, musical notes, weighty dash. What's that sound? Someone asked. Is someone playing the piano? Could it be the song that Brooke playing right now in the manga? Another person speculated excitedly.
Oh, I recognize this melody, exclaimed a third.
It's the Pink Sake. That's a pirate song. Definitely a pirate song, someone agreed.
At that moment, inside the O'Hara art store, Brooke heard the familiar piano playing and tears began to unfold down his face involuntarily. The intensity of his emotions increased as he reminisced about the events of the manga.
No. Please. Don't remember me. One Piece events. Oi, aren't you a violinist? Asked Sanji curiously upon seeing Brooke seated near the piano. Yahohoho, I can play any instrument. But let's get back to that topic.
I also saw what happened earlier by accident, and I'm deeply touched by the actions of you two, replied Brooke.
He added, comrades, isn't it such a wonderful thing? Don't put me and him on the same topic.
I'm not an idiot like him, Sanji replied, feeling somewhat ashamed of what had happened earlier. No, you had the same resolution as him.
Let me play a song. Is there one on your mind? Brooke asked Sanji if he had a favorite tune. You can play anything, right? How about?
Before Sanji could finish, Brooke interrupted with a suggestion. Pink Sake.
Damn it! Weren't you asking me to pick? Sanji exploded in anger.
But he soon calmed down as Brooke began to play. The soft sound of the piano spread through the hall and caressed everyone's ears.
I think I've heard Pink Sake somewhere before. It's quite nostalgic, Robin commented with a smile. Musical notes, musical notes, musical notes, weighty dash.
Brooke continued to play elegantly until he was surprised by the appearance of Luffy on the piano cover.
Oi!
Brooke!
I know this song. Shanks and his crew sing it. The pirates from the olden days all know this song. No matter when they're in times of sorrow or times of joy. Yahohoho! Enjoying playing, Luffy said, let's be comrades, alright? Now that you've reclaimed your shadow, you don't have to worry about sailing in the sun, right? About that. There's actually one thing that I haven't told you yet, Brooke said. What?
Luffy asked, surprised. I made a promise, with a comrade. If I don't fulfill it first, then I'm not fit to be a man, replied Brooke.
Ha ha. You're talking about Laboon, huh? I know about it. Yohoho, so Laboon is the name of the whale at Twin Cape.
Luffy interrupted him, like I said, Brooke, we met Laboon at Reverse Mountain.
Really? Is he still doing fine? Brooke asked. He's doing great. Luffy replied. Did he grow big? As big as a mountain. Yo-ho-ho.
I really want to see him because, at the time we parted, he was only the size of a small ship.
He was so adorable.
Although he isn't well tamed, he really loves music.
He's a good boy.
Even now, as soon as I close my eyes, his face would appear right before me.
Oh. I don't have eyes. Brooke said while joking.
His look would appear and linger in anyone's mind.
He added. Musical notes, musical notes, musical notes, weighty dash. This is really awesome. So he's actually living, and well.
Wawahasobi,
Brooke exclaimed emotionally. Musical notes, musical notes, musical notes, weighty dash. Musical notes, musical notes, musical notes, weighty dash.
When Brooke heard the sound of his friends from the Rumbar Pirates playing in the art store, he couldn't hold back his emotions anymore.
He remembered that moment.
It was the first time they met Laboon, who was small and lost in the middle of the sea.
Sigh.
Clover, Vegapunk, Alvia, and the others stared at Brooke with deep sadness in their eyes, having already read his tragic backstory.
Do they deserve a fate like this?
Rosinante asked, his voice cracking.
Alvia and Matriarch secretly wiped their tears. Even though Alvia knew the story of Brooke and Laboon, she didn't know the subtleties as detailed in the manga.
As expected, after just a few moments, most of the readers in the art store began to cry heartily.
Who could remain unaffected by Brooke's backstory, which most critics think is sadder and more tragic than Robin's backstory?
At that moment, Rob came out of his personal section, carrying little Yamato with him.
She was enjoying the song Pink Sake.
The arrival of Rob, who was carrying a little girl in his arms, caught the attention of his wives, who felt the danger. They wondered if Yamato was his child, and if so, who her mother was. Even Alvia thought about it before shaking her head, banishing these disgraceful thoughts, and walking towards him with a smile on her face.
This is Yamato. She's our new daughter. I told you about her.
Take care of her. I'll talk to Brooke a little, Rob said. When Alvia heard that it was Yamato, all her fears disappeared, as did Sora's and the others.
Okay. Come with me, my little. You're Alvia, Robin's mother. Yay!
Yamato exclaimed, more than happy to catch the eye of one of her favorite characters from the manga.
Chapter 436, Pink Sake is sweeping the pirate world. Part 2. Manga Island, the New World. The wonderful sound of Pink Sake's piano playing spread across the island, from the art store on Moby Dick. This lively music enlivened the Whitebeard pirates and their affiliates party. Whitebeard's smile broadened as he listened to the excellent piano playing. Garararara. Rob always manages to surprise me. This time is no exception.
Although Marco and the others wished to dance and enjoy the party in the style of the Straw Hats in the manga, Brooke's tragic backstory prevented them from doing so. Meanwhile, someone aboard Moby Dick was attempting a suicidal escape. While Whitebeard and his sons were immersed in the fantastic events of the manga, a barrel of wine began rolling towards the anchor's exit. The barrel was somewhat larger than average but otherwise looked like any other barrel of wine. It was bigger than the barrel of wine Luffy used to survive the whirlpool at the beginning of the manga.
The barrel easily rolled overboard and fell into the sea without anyone paying attention.
Teach, who had transformed into a small donkey less than 50 centimeters in size, held his breath inside the barrel as it drifted away from Moby Dick towards the unknown, carried by the waves of the sea. Fortunately for him, Whitebeard and his crew did not consider the possibility of his escape, and thus did not keep an eye on him. This is how the young Blackbeard managed to escape from the Whitebeard pirates. Returning to Ohara. Boo-iya. There was a sudden exclamation of excitement, the unmistakable sound of a whale. Laboon had been listening to Brooke and his crew's rendition of Pink Sake, from the art store, which had evoked a sense of nostalgia within him. This was the very song that the Rumbar pirates had sung to him long ago when he was just a baby whale, having become separated from his flock. One Piece events. Brooke's backstory. What is this whale doing? Asked one of the Rumbar crew members. He won't stop following our ship, replied another. He must have lost his way. Poor thing. The ocean is so vast, commented a third crew member sympathetically. It looks like he's really upset. Maybe he's still a baby, added the first crew member. The baby whale cried out, "You-you-ear." Captain York. Shall we play a song then? Suggested someone. Great idea, Brooke. Hey everyone, bring your instruments over, exclaimed Captain York. Yah-ho-ho-ho. Let the sobbing child smile. Come on. Let's show him the power of us pirates. Get ready, shouted Brooke. The baby whale seemed confused, making odd noises, asterisk asterisk. 1, 2, 3, 4, counted Brooke while playing with his violin. The crew played a lively tune, and the baby whale's cries turned into joyous sounds, you-you-ear. What's wrong? Now, it's just a quartet. Brooke still plays the song of life despite the death of one of his last living comrades. Trio, another one fell dead. Duet, Brooke's tears never stopped coming down. Solo, in the end, he remained alone. Ah, why?
leaving just the accompaniment. York, if you want to join my crew, all I ask is that you love music. This is the ship of the Rumbar Pirates, who can bring a smile to any child's face. Yee-iya. Laboon. You just wait right there. We'll come straight back here. That's a promise. Laboon.
In the end, Brooke fell dead too.
If you've been waiting there all this time. For these 50 long years? Could you possibly wait? Just another 1 or 2? For me, too. Have the true spirit of a pirate. You're facing that wall and waiting for me. And just as we promised, when I meet you again, I'll be coming over that wall. Onward, to the promised place. This. Tears streamed down Rosinante's face without interruption as he struggled to speak.
He was not alone in his grief. All children aged 14 and under, except for Doflamingo and Anil, were severely affected. The only crime these pirates committed was wanting to bring a smile to the children's faces, he said. I love them. I really love them. Why did such a tragedy happen to them? Now, I understand everything. Who could have imagined that the story of the people who left Laboon behind would be so dramatic and sad, said one of the readers. I'm sorry. I can't seem to control my tears. I fear I may flood the art store with them, said another one while crying hard. What a crew! What a legacy! I had thought that the Straw Hat Pirates were the only good pirates in this world. But the Rumbar Pirates. I'm impressed. Rumbar Pirates. Even though they have been dead for many years now, history will immortalize them. Rumbar Pirates. Rumbar Pirates. Rumbar Pirates. York. Brooke. Laboon. Crocus. Ah. Why Crocus? No one knows who started it, but soon many people were chanting the name of the Rumbar Pirates with great enthusiasm, both inside and outside the art store. This was not limited to the real world. Even the global and local forums were overflowing with words of praise and encouragement for the Rumbar Pirates, who unfortunately were dead and could no longer see their historical memory revived by millions of inhabitants of the pirate world. York, the captain of the Rumbar Pirates, once said that his name would shake the pirate world someday, Doflamingo mused. He wasn't lying, as now his name has rocked the pirate world 28 years after his death, Fufu. Brooke held the sound dial close to his chest as he looked at the hundreds of people who were enthusiastically chanting his name with tears in his eyes. You're not alone anymore, Brooke Dono. What if you're just a skeleton? You are the miracle man who returned from the dead. You are the kindest person I have ever met. You are a wonderful man, Brooke. Please marry me. Suddenly the atmosphere inside the art store shifted from sadness to joy as laughter mixed with tears. The manga had brought back Brooke's painful and wonderful memories, but the looks of love in the eyes of the people who recognized him and his background made him feel even more emotional. Hello, Brooke. Now that the world knows about you and your tragic story, and everyone feels sad for you, do you feel that this world, which took everything from you, is a little fair? At this moment, the person who changed Brooke's life arrived, with a familiar small whale on his shoulder. Due Wei. Chapter 437, The Eighth Member, Brooke. End of the arc. Returning to the island where Roger's pirates were currently resting, the sound of Roger and his crew echoed all over the beach as everyone sang along to the music coming from the art store on Oro Jackson. Yahoho, yahoho. Yahoho, yahoho. Yahoho, yahoho. Yahoho, yahoho. Bingsu no sake wa, tadakini yukuyo. Yumakase kimakase nami makase. Shio no mula de, yuhi wa sawagu. Sara naya weo kaku to yuta. The crew chanted their favorite song, Bink Sake, and as the song went on, Roger's singing voice got louder and louder, while Rouge supported them by clapping with a wonderful smile on her face. This was the most enjoyable day Rouge had, and the rest of the crew felt the same way. Sayonara Minato, Sumuji inai sadayo. Dantu ichu yuto, funade no yuta. Kinpajinpa imo, shibuki inai kit. Orita shuyuku do, umi no kajiri. As the song came to an end, the Roger pirates enjoyed chanting it until the last note. Oh, it seems that the fun arc ended in the best possible way.
Wahahaha, exclaimed Roger. Gabon added, look at this, Crocus, you've appeared twice in this arc.
In the unfortunate flashback of Rumbar Pirates, when you were very young, and here you are again, appearing old in the company of the huge Laboon, ha ha ha.
You're so lucky, man.
Roger and the rest of the crew looked on enviously at Crocus, who had appeared again in the manga.
One Piece events. At the entrance to the Grand Line, the excited voice of a whale echoed and conquered everything on the horizon, U-U-U-U-U-U-U-E-H.
Crocus, who was sitting on his outdoor chair and reading a newspaper, was caught by the commotion.
He asked, what's up, Laboon?
Laboon's eyes seemed to reflect a happy memory from a distant past, undoubtedly related to the captains of the Rumbar, York, and Brooke, and the rest of the crew. Crocus noticed Laboon's joyful mood and smiled in response, saying, you certainly seem to be in an awfully good mood today.
Laboon's eyes formed a triangle-shaped curve as he responded with a cheerful U-U-U-U-U-U-U-E-H.
It appeared that Laboon was laughing as if the voices of the Rumbar crew had reached him once again from a very distant place. It could be that they were finally able to rest after their remains were buried and commemorated. This manga is truly indescribable in its amazingness, Crocus said as he wiped a small tear from the corner of his eye. While there were not many things that could influence his mood, One Piece manga was one of the few things in this world that could. The story of Brooke, Laboon, and the Rumbar Pirates is one of the greatest stories I have ever known in my life. There is no doubt that this story will teach people in this world a lot of values and principles, and most importantly, patience, Roger said with a smile. Yes, dear, and the unfortunate fate of the Rumbar Pirates and what happened to them on the Grand Line will deter many from trying to enter the Grand Line in search of One Piece, Rouge added, her words sounding logical.
A great pirate?
I don't remember many female pirates who have the ability to earn that nickname at such era except Lin Lin.
Could Lola be Lin Lin's daughter? Roger pondered. Gabon interjected, we all know that Big Mom has a great interest in having children. It's not unlikely that Charlotte Lin Lin is Lola's mother. Wait, it seems like Ace's life is in real danger since his life card is burning this way.
Gabon and the rest of the crew turned around to stare at Roger and Rouge, who froze after seeing the last scene in the volume.
That's where the volume ended, young Shanks said. A few minutes ago. Hello, Rob, Rouge said calmly, why is Ace and Impel down?
Rouge had already understood that the events in the manga would not affect reality, but that didn't mean she wouldn't feel sad about her son's fate in the manga story. Well, Rouge, Rob's voice came from the smartphone he had given her as part of her duties at the art store, are you sure you want to know about the upcoming events?
Yes, you may speak. The upcoming events will revolve around Ace being in danger, I can't say anymore.
You'll find out for yourself later. Please give my regards to Captain Roger.
Good evening.
As soon as he finished speaking, he promptly ended the call to avoid any further questions from Rouge.
This is returning to the present time. That's why Rob said that the upcoming events will center around Ace. Does this mean that the Straw Hat Pirates are going to impel down to save Ace? Wondered Rouge. Maybe. But with their current strength, going there is tantamount to suicide.
I don't think they can even reach Fishman Island safely, they will undoubtedly collide with the Navy in the Sabaody archipelago.
Roger said.
Of course, the current Sabaody archipelago does not belong to the world government, but in the manga, it still is, Gabon added.
Fishman Island. Wow, this is amazing. Super. Let's dance, Ice-chan. The music is so great, it's moving my emotions.
Little Frankie exclaimed with excitement, forgetting his previous grievances with Iceberg. He invited Iceberg to dance with some merfolk and mermaids' children, but Iceberg, usually not shy, turned red and felt uncomfortable.
Tom joked, "Ta-ha-ha. What's up, Iceberg? Are you still shy because of that poster where the sexy secretary flirted with you? Teacher, please don't mention it." Iceberg felt embarrassed and wished he could hide. Ta-ha-ha-ha. No need to be shy with Don. Just accept it and enjoy it. In the future you have to get this sexy secretary, that would be great. Tom continued to tease him, but. Ta-ha-ha-ha, ouch.
Tom laughed so hard, but he was pinched hard by a beautiful nymph, Kokoro, who became a cute store goddess after Rob gifted her his diluted immortality potion intended for restoring youth.
Stop teasing the child, don't you see that his face is burning? She said angrily.
Ah, I'm sorry, Tom apologized before opening his mouth in shock because he saw something unfamiliar on the last pages of the manga and exclaimed in shock, "What are these extremely voluminous shadows?
Are they monsters? Oh my god. What the hell are these? Puff. What's this?"
I suddenly remembered the shadows of the Sky Islanders that terrified the crew at that time before they went to Skypiea. The mysterious Florian Triangle monsters are even more terrifying. The fishmen who were reading the manga felt their scalps go numb as they saw the terrifying shadows in the mist of the Devil Sea.
This was unexpected and they didn't know what to make of it. Mara Goa. What's going to happen now? No one knows about it. The Florian Triangle is a really strange area. Every year hundreds of ships are lost, and there is no trace of them left in this dark fog.
It is a very ancient phenomenon that dates back more than 10 years before the present day, and exactly when the thriller bark followed its travelers in the middle of this sea. It's good that the fog is thick on this day and more opaque than ever. Lucky this mystery is hidden forever in this dark sea. Fufu, why are you continuing to interest me so much, Robchan?
Won't you stop spreading the mystery in this world?
Would you like to make the world enter an era of chaos and fear of the unknown?
Fufu, I like it.
Imu's breath increased when she put her hand down, her excitement was reaching the maximum cheek at this moment.
Ohara. Congratulations on joining Straw Hat Pirates in the manga.
Rob greeted Brook with a smile and congratulated him on joining the Straw Hat Pirates in the manga. He was pleased to see how happy Brook was when he saw the small-sized Laboon, whom he hugged and laughed with joy.
How did Laboon turn into such a small size?
However, despite his momentary happiness, Brook did not forget to ask how Laboon had turned into such a small size. It's the mini fruit ability, Rob explained. After awakening its power, I discovered that I could shrink the size of any living being I wanted. A whale like Laboon can now accompany you anywhere, without any problem even outside the water.
Upon hearing this, Brook's eyes filled with tears.
He was grateful for the ability to accompany his last companion from his previous crew anywhere and anytime. It was the best gift he could receive, after the great gift that One Piece had given him, and the memorialization of the Rumbar crew in the manga.
Thank you, Rob-sama, Brook said gratefully.
I will not forget today's good, no matter how long I live. Until the era of the Luffy Straw Hat comes, I will serve you and the Hunters Guild sincerely. Brook's attention was then drawn to the grave that Frankie had made for the Rumbar pirates. Laboon also let out a sad voice after seeing it. There is no doubt that the real tomb of the Rumbar pirates was in Ohara. But seeing another one in Thriller Bark made the last two members of the Rumbar pirates feel very complicated emotions.
So, by saying that, you're joining Luffy in the future, even if you know it doesn't make sense, Brook? Rob asked.
Yes, Brook replied firmly, showing his determination. Rob smiled and turned around to leave, knowing that Brook was a man with strong principles. Well then, today's volume is over, Rob announced to his customers. Come back again a month later, a more interesting volume awaits you. The store owner pulled down the curtain on the volume Thriller Bark, and cheers spread everywhere after hearing his announcement.
Ooh.
Returning to the Fishman Island.
So, Fishman Island is next, asked Iceberg.
No, the Sabaody Archipelago is next, replied his teacher Tom. But the story of Brook and the Pirates of Rumbar is truly epic, continued Tom.
As Tom told the story of Brook, Laboon, York, and others, he was moved to tears. However, the kid Frankie beside them cried the most, exclaiming, "Whoa! Whoa!" Tom, Iceberg, and Kokoro all sighed after hearing this. They were touched by the story. Frankie, in particular, was deeply affected. Since Brook's legendary flashback started, he couldn't hold back his tears no matter how hard he tried. "Whoa! I'm super sad," he exclaimed. "Enough, stop crying, Frankie," Tom told Frankie. You will go blind if the river of your tears dries up.
Despite Frankie's emotional display, many fishmen were sympathetic to the rumbar pirates who unconditionally loved Laboon.
Even Arlong and the fishmen of the Fishmen district felt the same way. Chapter 438, The Game's World. Yamato's life is changing.
A week had passed since the conclusion of the Thriller Bark volume, and there had been some noticeable changes in the sea that were undoubtedly caused by the events of the previous volume. The most significant change was the catastrophic battle that had taken place in the North Blue, specifically in the Land of Ice. The cause of this battle was the frozen corpse of Ors, an ancient giant. Thankfully, the Hunters Guild was able to join forces with the Whitebeard pirates, including the 1st Division led by Marco, the 3rd Division led by Jozu, and the Little Pirate led by Little Ors Jr. They managed to fend off a large number of adversaries and recover the frozen corpse of the ancient giant after a grueling and extensive battle. Various groups took part in the struggle for the body of Ors, including the Navy, government agents, hunters from both official and unofficial guilds, the Mafia men, the Pirates of the New World, and the Pirates of the North Blue. Even the Beast Pirates led by King and the Big Mom Pirates led by Katakuri participated in the fight. Ultimately, the Whitebeard pirates came out on top since they had the backing of the most potent guild in the world, Ohara. While Rob sunbathed on the island with his children, he spoke on the phone about a recent battle. "So how large-scale was the battle?" he asked.
Are many people dead?
"The elites of the New World suffered no significant losses," came the response from the Demon Air Bullet.
But the pirates in the North Blue suffered a big blow because they overestimated themselves. Anyway, I managed to restrain all the enemies on my own and let the descendant of that ancient giant safely restore the body of his ancestor to the Whitebeard ship. Will you fight me again now?
Bullet had joined the Hunters Guild, with Rob promising him the opportunity to challenge him once he reached a certain level. Bullet was obsessed with defeating the strongest person in the world, and so naturally agreed. "If you can beat Roger first, come and challenge me again," Rob said.
"The experience that I promised you, Red Count and the World Destroyer, is almost ready to launch. Are you ready to be the first person to plunge into the game's world that will change the course of history, Bullet?" Rob could hear Bullet's heavy breathing on the other side of the phone. In fact, Bullet was not the same madman who appeared in the movie. He is now just an arrogant person with great confidence in his strength and a big ego, having sailed to the end of the Grand Line and discovered secrets even in Laugh-Tale. But even the amazing secrets he discovered were not worth anything compared to the mystery of Rob and his art stores. Rob had earned Bullet's respect not just through their fight, but also because of a promise he had made. "I'm ready. When will the opening of the game's world be?" Bullet asked.
"A year later, when the first half of One Piece is officially over," Rob answered calmly. He had already planned everything about the development of this world's future and was excited about what was to come. After hanging up the phone, Rob looked at his children who were sitting on his stomach and happily frolicking. They were little Yamato, his new 2-year-old adopted daughter, and little Robin, his first 3.5-year-old daughter. On the side were Hancock, his 5.5-year-old adopted eldest daughter, and Marigold and Sander Sonia, his 4-year-old adopted daughters, playing with each other more cheerfully. Rob had used his mini fruit to reduce their abnormal size to that of Robin and Hancock, and then made them normal again.
"I love Yamato-chan so much. Dad."
"I'm glad that she's my new sister," said little Robin with a laugh. Rob patted Robin gently and played with her soft, short hair. "I'm glad you're happy, sweetie," he said. Little Yamato watched as Rob interacted with his other daughter, wishing he would do the same with her. Although she was very young and didn't yet fully understand relationships or emotions, she knew that her life had changed for the better since arriving in this world. As Rob's hand covered her small head, Yamato felt an unparalleled warmth that broke down the dam of emotions that had been holding back since she first opened her eyes to this world and its cruelty. The emotional dam broke, and warm tears flowed continuously from Yamato's eyes without any feeling. Witnessing this scene, Robin was horrified and asked, "Dad, why is Yamato-chan crying?" But Rob already knew the reason. He had spent an entire week trying to heal the little girl's psyche, and he had finally succeeded. Smiling, Rob lifted himself from the supine position and gently hugged Yamato. My child, it hasn't been easy for you to live alone since you were born into this world, has it? He said tenderly.
Don't worry, Robin.
She is crying because she is happy, Rob assured his daughter. Even Hancock and her sisters were envious of the scene and longed for their father's embrace.
Come here, everyone.
Your beloved father will tell you a story, Rob declared.
The 5 little children eagerly gathered on their father's warm lap.
Yay, Dad is the best, they exclaimed.
Rob began telling a different story today, hoping to see his children laughing.
A long time ago, there was a person who brought a smile to everyone who saw him.
He was nicknamed Joy Boy.
In the end, the sun god returned to the sun to sleep after everyone in the world laughed.
Ha ha ha. Darashishi.
After the story, his children laughed heartily, and Rob's mood improved.
Rob Sama.
Your juice is here, kids drinks too. Suddenly, a beautiful blonde maid, Stussy, appeared with drinks for everyone. She placed the drinks on the table next to Rob and prepared to leave, but he stopped her.
Wait, I have something to talk with you about, Stussy, or should I call you Buckin? Stussy was taken aback, realizing that her deepest secret might have been revealed. Did Vegapunk tell him? Or did he hear it from the main body?
She feared that Rob would abandon her because she was a copy. However, Rob surprised her by saying, "No need to stress.
We need to visit somewhere, both of us. What I wanted to talk to you about is... I wanted to apologize to you,"
Rob said with a smile that carries the self-blame inside its folds.
Ha!
Stussy was shocked and puzzled by Rob's sudden change of heart.
Chapter 439, The Birth of Perona. The Legendary Hunter Number 1. At O'Hara Central Hospital, a beautiful woman with pink hair and a streamlined body sat in a private medical room.
She was different from her first appearance when she had a bulging belly. She had a shy expression as she breastfed a little girl who was born just a week ago. "You seem to have recovered somewhat, Melona. Your condition was very bad on your first day here," a charming silver-haired woman said as she walked in. She was the most respected woman in O'Hara, Nico Alvia.
Alvia was accompanied by Gloriosa and Odoheim.
Melona was not surprised by the appearance of the store goddesses, but she was glad to see them again. "Thanks to you and to Rob Sama, or I or my child would be dead," she said, shuddering at the thought of losing her child. Alvia sat near the mother and her baby and said gently, "You have to know that this is a humanitarian duty. Since you managed to get to O'Hara, it is our duty to save you and your child. You are the ones who deserve thanks for fighting to give Perona a chance to live by getting here." Then she added, "You were neither the first nor the last to arrive in O'Hara in a similar condition.
Our hospitals are overcrowded with similar cases.
You are just a little special."
Is it because I am the mother of a manga character?
Melona asked with a smile on her face as she looked between the manga book on the shelf and her precious daughter, who was instinctively sucking milk from her breast. Alvia fought back her shock as she looked at the baby with short pink hair. "I was shocked when I found out that you gave birth to Perona," she said. "I was also very shocked.
Look at her round and big eyes.
She looks very cute."
"Can I prick that chubby cheek of hers?" said Gloriosa with crescent-shaped eyes.
"Puff ha, I'm glad she's going to grow up out of the hands of a villain like Moria," said Odoheim, laughing gently.
"Of course, you can." Molina responded to Gloriosa's wish with a welcoming chest, but she instinctively trembled after hearing Moria's name from Odoheim.
Since she read the One Piece manga all last week, her only fear was that Moria would decide to search for her daughter and recruit her into Thriller Bark Pirates again. Alvia laughed gently before saying, "No need to worry. Since you are under our protection now, not even the world government can harm you and your daughter, not to mention Moria. As my wife said, here your safety and the safety of your daughter are absolutely guaranteed." "I am glad that you were able to get here successfully," said Rob as he entered the room. Melona tried to stand up to greet the strongest man in the world, but a gentle force prevented her from moving. "There's no need for that," Rob said, as he came near his 3 wives. The happy-tempered Stussy for some reason stood next to him, too. "You saved me and my baby when the doctors lost hope of saving us. This is a favor of saving 2 lives, like a mountain on my shoulder.
Please let me bow to you."
I know that just about cannot return your favor, but it is enough to show a little of my thanks, Melona said with tears in her eyes. Yes, on the night she gave birth to Perona, Rob intervened after the doctors at the Central Hospital were unable to save her and then transferred her to the clinic inside the art store and called the guild doctor Dr. Correja to save her and allow her to give birth safely. Rob pricked Perona's cheek with a smile on his face, controlling the desire to adopt another baby girl that appeared in his heart.
No problem. If you want to repay a life-saving debt, why don't you become part of the maids of the art store here in O'Hara? The New World, Dressrosa.
Without his help, I would not have escaped from that piece of ice. The world government has been very cruel to me.
So why are you hiding here, even though you are number one? Can you disobey his orders? Actually, I can't. Red Count looked at the little giant with the beard and mustache before awkwardly answering. So why the hell are you asking me this useless question, Pato?
The expression of Brindy World was disturbed.
Since I got out of Impel Down, I haven't found my big brother yet. It's a shame on me.
Brindy Woolard, Bounty, 3.568.000.000 Berry, S-Rank Hunter Number 1. It's a shame for the legendary Hunter Number 1 of the Hunters Guild not to succeed in a small search mission, Nukiki laughed Pato.
It's a shame for an evil pirate like you to serve a royal family for nothing, Barararo.
Replied Brindy World.
Maragoa. Damn it. When did that monster run away? At least 3 months ago.
He ran away 3 months ago, but we didn't find out until a week ago.
Not possible. Has Impel Down become this weak? The 5 elders felt a headache from the big problem that had fallen on them out of nowhere. Is it possible that the Hunters Guild has a hand in this? How is that?
We all know that the Sky Sword recruits even former pirates as long as they can pass his test and accept his rules. Could it be that both Brindy and Rob have communicated with each other in some way?
Saturn put forward an acceptable hypothesis. This is not unlikely. Thought the bald Gorosei before making the announcement.
So what are we going to do now, wondered the blonde Gorosei. Let's look for traces of him in the place where his older brother is supposed to be, said Saturn with a malicious smile.
After several days on an island in the New World called Sphinx. This island was the birthplace of Whitebeard, Edward Newgate.
Since he went out to sea several decades ago, he has not returned to this island except for a few times comparable to the fingers of one hand.
But even so, Whitebeard never forgot his hometown. Because this island did not join the alliance of the world government, it suffered from pirate attacks from time immemorial.
However, after Whitebeard left here, things changed 180 degrees.
This island has become the safest island in the New World. After all, who dares to encroach on the island of Whitebeard? No one.
That's exactly why a young woman came here 13 years ago with a baby in her belly. She lived in a house alone, away from the other villagers, and took care of her child and raised him alone.
She was also a member of the Rocks Pirates, Buckingham Stussy.
Outside the house, near an anthill at the foot of a large rock.
What are you doing, Weevil?
I'm looking for the big ant, Mom.
I befriended him, but he ran away from me.
The mature version of Stussy looked at her mentally weak child with a tender gaze. 12-year-old Edward Weevil looked older and bulkier than children his age, but he looked cute, unlike the big and deformed version of him in the future. After all, the future Weevil was subjected to a lot of experiments that completely changed his form from his real one.
Chapter 440, Why did you call yourself Whitebeard when you don't have a beard?
Moby Dick's ship was moving smoothly among the waves of the stormy sea as if there was no little storm.
Toward Sphinx Island. Odin, it's been several years since you went out to sea. Aren't you planning to return to Wano and officially open it to the world? Rob asked, sitting with a blonde-haired woman wearing a mask.
Next to them sat Whitebeard, Odin, who was accompanied by his wife, Whitey Bay, to the shocking surprise that Whitey Bay was carrying a small baby between her arms, which Rob discovered to be Odin's son with Whitey Bay.
His name was also Kozuk Momonosuke. Beside them sat the ninth Akazaya and a member of the Whitebeard Pirates, Aizu.
I have only 5 more months left, but I have already decided to return closer. At this stage, as Wano Kuni is being repaired and the lost seawater is being restored, I need to personally supervise this. Also, I know that your guild members have been staying there for a long time to protect my country.
Maybe it's time to relieve them of this responsibility, Odin replied gratefully.
Whitebeard, who was drinking sake without much thought, overheard their conversation and asked, "Are you trying to separate one of my precious sons from me, Kozu?"
Rob smiled and replied, "Are you unwilling to let him return to Wano?"
"I still remember when you vehemently refused to board him on your ship."
Ha ha.
Whitebeard's mood soured after hearing Rob's taunt, and he cracked his knuckles, producing small cracks in the air. "You're definitely looking for a fight with me."
Ha ha.
"I have no desire to fight you, Whitebeard. By the way, I've always wondered why you call yourself Whitebeard even though you don't have a beard." But when Rob joked about Whitebeard's nickname, the mood on Moby Dick changed.
No, he really said it. Maybe I heard it wrong.
Oyaji is still angry because that bastard Teach ran away. This time his anger will definitely explode. When the members of the Whitebeard pirates waited for their father's explosion in a fit of rage, they were surprised by a big change.
An expression of nostalgia appeared on the face of Whitebeard.
He drank the last drops of sake before he filled another pot ready to drink. But before that, he started sharing a story about how he got his nickname. "I had a girlfriend in the past, she was fond of my white mustache. She once asked me if I could have a beard, will it also be white or blonde since my hair is blonde. I told her even if it's not white it will become so when I get old, I'll become the Whitebeard."
The Whitebeard?
She said that with the stars in her eyes.
What a beautiful nickname. I also liked that nickname, that's why from that day on I became Whitebeard even if I didn't have a beard.
He said while his expression changed from time to time. The eyes of the crew members, Rob, and even the masked woman next to him widened due to shock.
Rob then burst out laughing, ha 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 ha.
Puffed. The masked woman next to him let out a light laugh as well.
"Oyaji, you had a girlfriend."
Marco, Jozu, and the rest were surprised after hearing that.
What's wrong with that?
"When I was a very energetic young man I got a beautiful girlfriend that even my ex-captain was looking forward to her, but she didn't give him a glance, she preferred me, Whitebeard."
Garararara.
Rob had an idea who this girlfriend Newgate was talking about. She was the same woman Rob was turning towards now.
"Does this girlfriend of yours look like my little maid in any way?"
Rob asked after he gave the green light to the masked woman next to him to remove her mask.
"Your little maid?"
Whitebeard raised his eyebrow attentively and stopped drinking sake when he turned his gaze towards the woman, who began to slowly remove her mask.
The eyes of Whitebeard widened after the mask fell on Stussy's face. "Stussy.
She's been dead for 13 years already, she's also supposed to be older. What's going on here?" shocked Whitebeard. Seeing his precious woman whom he lost many years ago, who was killed by his former captain Rox D. Zebek come to life again in front of his eyes, Whitebeard was so shocked that his mind became blank. Marco, Odin, and the others noticed the change in their father's mood with confusion.
"It's not possible." Elysia Kingdom. After combing little Cindy's hair and helping her get dressed in her best clothes, asked Mother Elizabeth, "Are you ready to go, Sindri?" "Yes, Mom, I'm ready."
"There's no need to be afraid for me."
"I'll be fine," Sindri replied.
"Neither your father nor I are afraid. We understand that even if you stand in front of Hogback and Moria, they will not be able to hurt you," relieved Mother Eliza replied. "My daughter, your older brother's men have arrived to give you a lift.
We can't make them wait."
At this moment, Father Victor entered the room, with a worried look on his face, urging his little daughter to hurry up with what she was doing.
"I'm ready, Dad.
I'm going to go face my fear and overcome it. Then, I'll follow Big Brother, and I'll sing with Brother Skeleton at the World Concert.
Everything will be fine.
Trust me." 13-year-old Sindri stood up, and her face showed a unique determination and bent look for adults only. Two A-rank hunters respectfully stood in front of a luxury car. When Victoria Sindri arrived, one of them opened the car door for her to get in, while the other went to drive.
"Welcome, Miss Sindri."
"We have orders to fulfill all your requests from now on," said one of the hunters.
Sindri felt embarrassed but soon overcame it.
To have 2 vice admiral level hunters in her service was a great honor, but she didn't know it. Let's go to the prison in which the insidious surgeon, Hogback, is being held, Sindri ordered quietly.
Well, Miss Sindri, the hunter-driver responded respectfully.
In addition to the orders they received from the guild, they knew the identity of this child, in the manga and in reality too. She was the younger sister of the guild master.
Hunter's Island. Central Prison.
The Central Prison is a very huge prison, at least the size of a city, located in the eastern part of the Ring Hell Island. This island once witnessed a heavenly punishment that blew up half of its mass, turning it into a circular shape and completely changing its terrain. Of course, the one responsible for this was Rob, who destroyed the slavers that day when he saved his current wife, Toki. Sometime after the main headquarters of the Hunters Guild was built here, Rob gave orders to build a large prison to imprison pirates, slavers, and troublemakers after they were sentenced in court.
The judicial court is also located in Ring Hell.
Today was a relatively important day because it was the day of the trial of the evil surgeon, Dr. Hogback. Inside the prison cell, in the sub-prison of the judicial court located in the city of the Central Prison, an annoying scream rang out.
"Get me out of here! I haven't done anything evil yet. Stop, Mr. Hogback. Shouting won't do you any good here."
Suddenly, a man in a business suit entered, holding a working wallet in his hand.
"Huh, and who the hell are you?" shouted Hogback.
"I am the lawyer who was appointed to defend your case, sir," replied the man. That wraps up this part of What If Becoming a Mangaka in One Piece World.
Thanks so much for listening.
As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well.
See you in the next one.